Welcome to week 10 of O Shift, where Scooter showed up in Arabic style. Because V-necks are always in season when you're Scooter.
When the budget is low, so is the V-neck on the shirt. Thanks, Mike Pack.
But no, in all seriousness, we're going to continue to not be serious because that's what O Shift's all about. So thanks for sticking around. This week, we're going to take a deep look at the E46 M3, which is probably, honestly, the last truly great M3, or naturally aspirated M3 for that matter, or just M3.
Or just M3 in general.
And aside from that, we'll kick it off with giving you the news as usual because
That's what we do here. We keep you entertained, but keep you informed.
in a big fuck you to electrification, Ford put a supercharger in its new F-150, bringing the power up from 4 to 700 horsepower. But will it be fast enough to run away from their memories of scoring touchdowns in high school?
Ford will be coming out with a Raptor with 700 horsepower. Rejoice, all the small in Texas.
Oh.
There's no reason you need a Ford Raptor with 700 horsepower. But I get it.
Absolutely no reason.
What sand dunes are you going to on a regular basis? Are you a Baja racer?
Maybe that could have sped up Dune.
Put Zendaya in a Raptor.
That big ass thing. She'd have to sit in the cup holder.
Or you put like Zendaya with the Raptors from Jurassic Park with 4 trucks. Blue.
But in a big America, to electrification, the Ford E-Crate motors sold out during the SEMA show. The last time Ford sold out this quickly was the Mustang Mach-E.
It has been reported that Jay Leno will be getting first dibs on the 2023 Corvette Z06. And just like every light-skinned man's ancestors, the owner is getting the cream of the crop.
I knew you were going to pick that headline. I fucking knew it. I was like, let me not do this.
I couldn't even help it.
The new Mazda CX-50 will debut next week as long as Mazda doesn't close its doors by then.
And by doors, we mean the reverse ones on the RX-8. Because why are we still waiting?
Acura opened up reservations for their upcoming MDX Type S as if anyone wants to reserve an MDX.
And in more Ford news, they have announced that 25% of owners of the new Maverick are women. You know who else customer base is 25% women? Miguel. I'll let you guess what the other 75 is. Wink.
If you like it, I love it. Miguel.
You didn't even gotta like it. I'm still gonna love it.
The new Mercedes SL Roadster debuted 2 weeks ago, which means 2 weeks of texts from my dad, a middle-aged black man. With the Bluetooth.
That looks like he works at a call center.
Hey.
Oh man, I love black men. It gets no better than that, especially old ass black men.
Oh, the best.
Hands always ashy. Bluetooth's always in. Breath always smell like Crown.
A bunch of teen moms in Ohio rejoice as Ford announces it will debut its new Ranger next week.
You don't have to say no more. teen moms in Ohio. That's it. You can stop right there.
A bunch of park rangers stopped spying on people having sex in the bushes to rejoice as Ford announces it will debut its new Ranger next week.
And in more Ford Ranger news, Janelle Monáe and friends finally have a party vehicle.
I wonder if they will get that one. So good. A bunch of plumbers finally pulled up their pants to rejoice as Ford announces it will debut its new Ranger next week.
And in more Ford Ranger news, men who paint their nails finally have a truck for them.
How far do you think my hand can reach?
I hope it reach fast.
Right? It better be a one and done.
You better come with all your might.
Windmill City.
All these cameras gonna be done. No deposit.
Gonna be looking like the end of Cloverfield. And not so related car news, but it is car news because this guy is related to Tesla, and also the first in space drove cars before they went to space. The SpaceX crew's toilets failed, forcing them to rely on diapers until they get home. How shitty.
Here in Los Angeles, gas has topped out at $6.05 for unleaded. Regular.
I haven't seen that yet, but I definitely paid $5.49 up the street. But I literally had 20 miles to east.
You had no choice.
Had no choice.
I really don't think it's like a supply chain issue. I just think they're just like, oh, fuck it. Let's just raise it and see how much they're gonna pay for it.
I think they're readying us for the ban. They're gonna make driving internal combustion engines like a rich man's sport. It's gonna be one of those things that's so expensive to do and taxed so much that it becomes like a leisurely sport. Everything else is gonna be electric. That's where I think they're headed.
And I also didn't know when you're charging your car, like any EV, it's not free. Like you have to pay for it. It means no. I mean, of course, it's not nowhere near as expensive as filling up a tank, but time ratio is like.
Over 100 Hertz customers are suing the company, stating that they were arrested and thrown in jail for driving a car that Hertz reported stolen. The judge will most likely decide that driving a white Toyota Camry does not scream "drive it like you stole it."
Or a white Malibu.
Or a white Ford Fusion. They're not even making Ford Fusions, but Hertz still has them on their lot.
Why is every rental car white? That makes no sense to me.
An upcoming Mini prototype was spied in camouflage as if anybody's gonna not know that is a Mini.
And in more Mini news, they have disappeared. Just like Matt Damon's career.
Instead of movies, they're doing the trailer before the movies.
And in IntelliJob news, they're not reviving it. That movie, still my favorite. I don't care.
Oh, loved it.
Just like Gone in 60 Seconds, even though I know it's a remake. Y'all can go to hell. I love it.
Love it.
Angelina Jolie, love it. She was kissing her husband.
Girl, you are at the red carpet.
What a career she's had.
Wow.
I mean, you can only hope that you can come close to that.
Like, she really had 16 kids. I mean, only a couple, but like, technically, with Brad Pitt.
I mean, Shiloh looks just like the both of them.
Both.
I mean, the genes popped. Imagine, guys, having Angelina Jolie's genes and Brad Pitt's in one person.
Like,
and I don't even go up for either one of them like that, but goddamn, when you see it, you see it. Those are two beautiful people.
Could you imagine what the failed sperm are saying? Like,
goddamn.
Okay, yeah. So he made it. All right. So he got through with Brad. So who was the mom? Angelina.
We need a redo. Put it in the butt.
Oh my God.
This is a part where I get to be annoying and tell y'all to like our video and subscribe so we could keep sending you more of this fun stuff about cars. Lord, I'm so thankful I got dumped last month because now I only have to pay for my burritos and my sour cream and my pico de gallo. And I'm so thankful for bleach because now I got to dye my hair 17 colors since I got dumped last month. And I'm so thankful for my mom. Supposed to be talking about cars. Be right back. $2000, Y2K, everything comes to an end, except the M3. It's as if BMW was looking at the Mayan calendar instead. That's when people say they stop producing true M3s. Instead, they put everything into this generation of the M3, marked E46. The engineers took everything they learned from the previous M3s and just made it better. A straight six pumping 333 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, it might very well be one of the last great naturally aspirated six cylinders. But that's just from the factory. This is Jose's 2003 BMW M3.
These are the cars we're thankful for. And what better a car to appreciate for those that were around in the early 2000s? The E46 M3 serves as one of the last NA BMW M3s that truly felt like an M3. Sure, the E90 was NA and it was a beast, but it didn't quite feel like an M3. This actually connects the driver with the heritage of the M3. From steering feel to power band lineage to iconic styling that's aging very well, it doesn't get much better than this. This was the last era before we went into the digital age where things started becoming outdated pretty quickly. So this reaped the benefit of all of those analog attributes. But that didn't keep you from modifying things, as we see here with this head unit. A lot of simple touches, but it still feels like it just left the lot. Do you remember that first time it left the lot?
Oh man, it was a day of excitement. I remember the first day I went to test drive the car and actually drove about, I was like an hour and a half to Orange County at Dana Point. And just as I pulled up, I just saw the car and instantly just fell in love.
That drooling feeling. I remember when I went to get the F30, it was like at their sister lot, and so they pulled it in, and when they make that left turn into, I was like, oh.
Exactly, yeah, I pulled into that street, and I'm like, that's exactly who I'm meeting up right now. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I'm buying this car.
Like, didn't stand a chance.
What was interesting though is I had already seen about 5 different others, and I mean, although when I saw the others, you know, I was happy, but for some reason, this one just excited me the most. And I think it had to do something with the color. Being silver gray, I did really want a silver gray car. And the other ones that I saw a red one, and Mola red is beautiful, but this is exactly what I wanted. I always wanted that CSL color that is known. So yeah, silver gray, once I saw it and I saw that reflection of the sun hit the paint, I just knew I was taking that car.
And it's like such a unique paint color too. If I recall, BMW like has one-of-a-kind paints which are pretty hard to replicate. So like if you get a scratch or anything years down the line, you're like shit out of luck.
Yeah, I mean now we have the technology that color matches pretty well, but I would say back in the day, if you had to paint any of the BMW paints, it's hard. And also BMW is known for their hard clear coats as well. Yeah. So you probably wouldn't get that.
What did you get out of to hop in this?
So previously, I was actually in an Infiniti G35. So yeah, you know, I grew up with Japanese cars, had my fair share of Japanese cars, and this was the transition into German.
What does it feel like comparing this to the Japanese cars? Because I look at it as
Oh man.
the best of both worlds, right? Like you have imports that are on the far left, their precision, handling, all of that. Not a whole lot of power, right? But they're great in the canyons. Then you have these American cars that are just brute. Straight line, they'll tear it up. But ask them to make a right turn, good luck. The best they could do is a left at NASCAR. Left.
Left. Yeah, no. So there's no comparison between an Infiniti G35 and an M3. Like, just the driving experience from the M, the way it's planted, the way it drives, that direct drive feeling. Yeah, I mean, compared to the Infiniti, it was basically a boat on wheels. It did not want to go, and it did not take corners that well.
Yeah, but yet and still, like, Infiniti drivers think their cars are always faster than what they are because it's loud. Like, it sounds like it's fast, but you're literally not going anywhere.
Yeah, at the time when I first got that car, I thought it was fast because it was the V6 and, it was a Infiniti and, it was like the luxury vehicle. When I first got that, I thought, well, this is cool. But yeah, I mean, when I got into the M, the face was just like, the smile was super big.
What was the first thing that impressed you hopping into this?
The feeling of the steering. So even just driving on the street, just taking it for the test drive, I was like, whoa, this is, I can feel the car just going. Like, it just wants to go and it's just planted. The sound of that motor was just intoxicating.
It is, and it sounds great from the factory, but we always wanted to sound a little bit nicer. We're like, I think it could be louder. I think we could open that throat up just a little bit more. How long did it take before you started modding the car?
Modifications to the car was actually about a year. I felt like at that time it didn't really need anything. I was like, wow, this is already a great driving car. I don't think I need to change anything out from it. However, once I did start the modification process, it was over from there.
What'd you go with first?
So I actually went with coilovers first. The suspension that was on there, I mean, it had a lot of miles on them. So I figured, you know what, I got to refresh this. And from previous cars I've tuned, I know that coilovers always made the biggest impact to your driving experience. So if I can go back and redo it, I don't think I would change it. I think every single time I would always go with coilovers. Now, I think that may be a little bit different in today's time now because obviously now with such fast turbo cars, like you flash a car and it's like, boom, done.
That's the thing. You have forced induction today, and they're conservative leaving the factory. The moment you open that up and pull a little bit more boost out of it, instant gratification.
Exactly. So, obviously this car, the tuning capabilities, because it's an NA, it's not going to be the same as those newer cars. So yeah, I just felt that modifying the suspension definitely would go a longer way.
Along with your suspension, your coilovers, you did a bunch of things to the car. Remember, you had the Super Sprint exhaust, or maybe I'm mistaken, it was a titanium. What exhaust was it?
Yeah, so previously, the first exhaust I put on it was a Meisterschaft titanium exhaust. That titanium exhaust, it kind of did break down over time. So yeah, I ended up switching it over to a Super Sprint Race, which is currently what's on the car right now. I just wanted something that was a little bit louder, let people know I'm coming through the neighborhood, and just enhance that M note. So yeah, I have it on there right now. I haven't really made any additional modifications to the exhaust system aside from that, because I don't feel that it really needs it. I'm happy with it the way it is right now.
What modifications do you have in total on the car right now, just to recap?
Yeah, I have a lot of modifications, but what I try to do, or what I've been trying to do with this car, is keep it OEM plus. So I don't want to be extravagant, like I want to be individual and do something different. It's not the way that, I like really tuning cars. The OEM, from just this like center console, from the interior, like having the custom interior, the Alcantara little touches here and there. As far as obviously the coilovers, sway bar, the enhancements to the rear suspension when I did the subframe reinforcement. Simple little things that will make the car handle more enjoyable, but at the same time, having that balance between comfort and like a track car, without having a complete track car that's just not drivable on LA streets. Because as you know, as we're driving through the LA streets, they're a little bit rough.
They see us bouncing around right now.
What's going on with them?
The coils absorb it like pretty well, but these streets are fucked up out here.
Yeah, the first thing, I was actually surprised. So, I mean, coming from a worn out suspension to coilovers, I thought they were going to be fairly rough. But the first day I had them and I was driving home, I actually got them done at Status Group in San Diego. And, I was driving the way home and I'm like, wow, this ride's way better and way softer than my stock suspension. I thought they were going to be harsh, but in reality, it's not harsh at all.
It becomes harsh when you step into, the tuning for track world, right? And then they're getting really stiff with their like adjustments. But most of these coming straight from those aftermarket companies, it's like a good balance of comfort and performance.
Yeah, exactly. I think obviously I didn't go with aggressive spring rates either, so that definitely helped out in making it better overall.
And you said coils were obviously your favorite and most impressive mod so far, but is there one mod, considering everything you've done to the car, that you'd be okay with removing if you had to choose one?
I would want to keep it all. Yeah, like the wheels, the competition wheels, I love. The CSL trunk, I think changed the look for the better of the car and really made the car, so I definitely want to get rid of that. The suspension, I would not. Yeah, I don't think there's anything I would really want to give up. If I really had to, I would get rid of the exhaust. That can go, but everything else definitely has to stay.
So you'd be okay not hearing that every day?
Well, here's the thing. I can still hear it. I do have an intake on the car, so as far as hearing it, you will still hear that. You're gonna hear that regardless if the exhaust is back there because you're hearing it from the front with those individual throttles just opening up.
Woo. That is a symphony.
It really is.
Oh.
Makes me smile every time.
And if I'm not mistaken, you bulletproofed the motor recently. I feel like that had to be both taking a weight off your shoulders and letting you know how much the car is probably worth now.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only with the resale value, but I mean overall just peace of mind. One of the big things when people look at these cars is, has the big three been done? And the big three consist of the rod bearings, the vanos, and the subframe as well. So yeah, having the peace of mind with knowing that your engine's not going to blow up, when you're pushing it, yeah, it definitely puts you in a different spot when you're driving it, just abusing it. So yeah, I mean, the rod bearings have been done, the vanos has been done. So I feel like now I can take it to the track and, let loose. But yeah, overall with that, like the resale value as well with these cars, as I mentioned, there's a lot of people that will look to see if it's been done because it's pretty expensive. Just the labor alone for like rod bearings can cost you anywhere from $1,000 all the way to $1,400.
What baffles me? I don't understand why they don't get this right from the factory. We were just talking a couple weeks ago on the show about how the new ones are having the same issue. Like, this has been going on for 20 years. Just give us better rod bearings from the get-go.
And I thought with the F80 they had it down. They're like, they got it fixed. Finally, rod bearings. And yeah, the S58 came out and they're like, hey, sorry, we might have some problems with it.
It's wild. But they do backwards things like that. Like the clutch on the 335i that came out before my car had a strong clutch in the IS. Then when they moved to the M Performance on mine, they put a weaker clutch in it when it has more power. I was so confused by that. So what ends up happening? You have to change your clutch eventually.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you think they've got it right, and then probably for clearance or pushing out more boost or whatever it may be in this case, and we're back to square one. So hopefully they can fix this problem in a timely manner, and it doesn't take too much in repairs for those people, because right now to get parts in from either Japan or Germany, it's a long wait. Very, very long way.
It is horrible. My custom plates haven't even made it in yet. And these are just license plates. It has been 6 months I've been waiting for these and still
it's so crazy.
Wild. Like, I think I was also waiting 4 or 5 months for all the parts that I just installed in the Supra. Like, we were like, all right, any week now. And I mean, finally they got here. Like, it's kind of exciting. It's like, it felt like Christmas, like waiting
damn near half the year for this thing. But
The trunk, the original trunks to import them from a CSL car, you know, back in the day you can buy it for $1,000, $1,200. Now they're over $4,000. Not even shipped, just it's like $4,000.
did we get in the wrong business?
Yeah, I think so. If I would have known, I would have bought 4. Hold some.
Like, just on the corner, yeah.
You looking for a trunk? Need that CSL?
Knowing that this shot your value up, one, just at the car in general, plus what these are going for today, any used car today, would you let it go for the price?
You know,
Right price?
I've actually had people come up to me, you know, when I'm at the gas station or, you know, when I'm out and about and they've, you know, oh, beautiful car, you know, are you willing to sell it? And I'm like, you know, not really. The reason I bought this car is it was my high school sweetheart, you know?
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school and this car came out, it was just the most beautiful thing I ever saw. And I was told myself, I'm gonna have one of those. One day that will be my car. I think a lot of people start their car journey that way, and that's why a lot of people are attached to, you know, their Corvettes, their Camaros, their Hondas, whatever it may be. Because I feel like either, you know, family member within the family, or, you know, you grew up with that brand, you just have that awareness and you want that. So yeah, for me, it was just that you know, the BMW that you needed to have. And yeah, I got it. So, you know, I took a trip to visit my sister in Germany to then realize, like, I need to get it sooner. So I'm actually glad I got it at the time that I did, because yeah, now it's definitely not as affordable as it was previously.
Did you get to do the Autobahn when you were out there?
I did.
What was that like?
You know, it's crazy because people are like, oh man, you can go as fast as you want. But there's also a lot of traffic. So unfortunately, it's not like we got to rip it.
Okay.
But yeah, regardless, it was just nice being like in that area where, like, this is the place to be with a sports car.
If you could take one car, any car on the Autobahn, what would it be?
It's funny that you asked that, because the day I was actually going and leaving Germany, I was taking a shuttle to the airport, and I saw a Porsche 911 just blow by, going so fast that even the SUV I was in to go to the airport just shook.
Oh shit.
On the Autobahn, I mean, I would definitely love to drive my M3, but if I could have a Porsche on the Autobahn, I'll take it.
I mean, who doesn't want a Porsche out there with, like, no limits?
You know, it's funny too that there's a lot of people that will move away from this car. You know, they'll get a F80, they'll get other cars, they'll get into Porsches. But the one thing I always hear from them is, I really miss that car. I really miss my E46M. I wish I would have never got rid of it. So, you know, that's one of those things I also consider when, you know, thinking about getting rid of it, and it's just, no, absolutely not.
So we know you're not getting rid of the 46. Assuming you hold on to it for a while, is there another M3 that you could see yourself in, you know, for a lifetime or for extended period of time?
You know, as far as, yeah, I mean, retaining this car, for sure. Getting another M3, absolutely. You know, I would want the, you know, the newest model, or even, you know, see what an F80 would be like. But, you know, the whole reason behind keeping this car is this is going to be my son's car one day. So hopefully, you know, he'll be driving this around when he's old enough and responsible enough to have it. I mean, he already loves the car. You know, he'll pass by it, he'll grab the door handle, and he's like, ah, ah, ah. Like, he loves just being in the car and just pressing things and just grabbing onto the steering wheel. So, yeah, I mean, he already knows it's his.
The most adorable thing, though, is vroom vroom when he wants to go for a ride.
The vroom vroom, yep.
I was like, wow, I almost want a kid now. Just kidding.
Yeah, he tends to want the broom broom a lot. So, you know, when he walks by the car, or, you know, we're out and about, the broom broom signifies it's ready to go.
Love it. What M3 would you go with, if not this?
I wouldn't mind testing all of them out. Before I bought my 340i, I was actually looking at E90s, E90 M3, but I just couldn't justify having two M's. Obviously, maintenance on this car, maintenance on that car, it's not cheap.
Sounds like more money.
Yeah, exactly. So the way that I saw it, I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be money. And let's be honest, you get that car, even in stock form, it's beautiful, but it's not going to stay stock for long.
No, like, we saw how long. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to chill with the Supra.
I'm just going to hold off. It's perfect. It's perfectly stanced. And then you're like, I wonder what coilovers would do. I wonder what an intake would sound like. I wonder what different wheels look like. I wonder if stickier tires. I think that I would definitely want to have a V8 M3. I think it was just a beautiful car as well. But I think for the daily drive now and what I've gotten used to, I think an F80 would definitely do. Obviously, the amenities that I have just on my 3 Series now, like the heads up, just having like a nice interface on the radio, just being comfortable while daily driving. I mean, it definitely goes a long way, especially now that it's my dad's car. You know, I'm a father, so it just makes life so much easier. However, I'll throw you a curveball because I do want another M car, but it's not going to be a car. It's going to be an SUV. I really love the X3M, and it has the S58. It's a beast. The M division and BMW stepping up their game with the SUVs.
They have to though. That's where the money is at.
A lot of money, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they're coming out with their X3M, the X5M. Obviously, everyone knows. Now they have the competition edition.
I'm leaning towards the X5 if I was to go SUV, but I'm just how I drive, and you know how I drive. I'm scared to have an SUV because I'm just like, oh, that's just gonna flip immediately. Like,
you need to drive an X5M.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just planted, and you're like, this is an SUV. This is insane.
If you can go back and make this the perfect car from the dealership, what would you do differently?
I think for the time that they were in, very advanced. Even though, I mean, the brakes are really good on this, but I think I would definitely have put some Brembos on it out of the factory. Electronic dampening was not available at that time, but that would have been, nice to have. I would not change the steering. I absolutely love the steering. Obviously, a little bit different from the electronic that we have now, so this just gives it that oomph. I don't think I would really change anything different, or go to BMW like, why didn't you put this into it?
This is the one where I'm like, I can't think of anything else. When I look at the other M's, like the E30, I did not like those fenders. I know people did, but like that was our first time really like doing a mass production wide body or something like that, right? It looks weird. It gives me Lego. I'm not attracted to it. So like there's something I'd want to fix there. The 36, there's something about the console that doesn't sit right with me. It's like the whole head unit area feels a little bit weird, but huge advancement over the 30. When I look at the 90, to be honest, I didn't want that motor in it. If I'm being real, I didn't care for that. I think great. It looks stylistically, it was beautiful. I love how the 2 and the 4 differed from each other. When I go to the F80, it's pretty obvious. Like I would want to keep both the 3 and the 4 as one car.
Yeah, I mean, there's little things that I've changed here and there, but it still comes from another M. Whether it be like this center console or the head unit, or like the trunk and the diffuser. Like it comes from another M car, but it might not have been this one from the factory that was purchased, but it still has that BMW stamp on all the parts.
Yes. Would you get it in the same color?
Absolutely. If I could get a new M3 and have it custom, I think I would get silver gray. Definitely an individual color, 1 out of 1.
What is that flat gray? What is that called?
I think it's just frozen.
Yes.
Frozen gray. My sister used to live in Germany, so I used to go out there quite often and visit her. And she was friends with this person that actually used to own the dealerships. They used to sold to the military out there. One day she takes me, she's like, oh, I'm going to take you to see his car collection. This is actually when I fell in love with M's, by the way. But he had a limited edition E90 that was that frozen color. I think it was like 1 out of like 14. But I fell in love with that car. And I was actually quite mad coming back from that trip because after meeting him, he's like, oh, are you going to be here for, the following week? I'm like, no, unfortunately I leave I think I was like leaving on Tuesday or Wednesday or something. He's like, oh, we were going to go to Nuremberg. You could have came with us. And I was like, I'm like, I've already been gone for a week. I can't be gone for another. I know. It would have been my opportunity to at least driving that car on the Nuremberg, and it didn't happen. I'm so upset. I'm hurting. So upset. And then after that, my sister actually moved back to the States, so she was no longer stationed in Germany. She got a new assignment, and I was like, nah, I'll never go back and do that.
How do you feel about the current state of BMW?
With the advancements of technology, I know that a lot of people didn't like the new M because that front grille. I'm sure there's a reason why it's that big. Regardless of what they come out with, I'm always going to be a fan. Even with the F80, when it first came out, I was not a fan. Obviously, we're like, oh, E46, E90, the best cars. So I just don't. I feel like there hasn't been enough room or time, or we've seen these cars enough on the road to really start liking them. Because there's pictures and then there's the actual car. And yeah, before it came out, I was like, my God, what is going on? But now that I see it in person, I'm like, you know what? It's beautiful. That's a beautiful car.
It stands really well, but like once we see somebody with a true conversion for the nose, I think it's going to be really hard to go back and look at the stock one.
The problem is that the front on the M340i is actually really good looking.
Yes.
Like they could have gone with that a little bit more aggressive, and it would have been the M styling. But they didn't. It's one of those things where at first I was like, but now I'm loving it. And now that I see him on the road now, because there's so many people here that now have him in Glendale and Burbank. It's growing on me. It definitely is.
It's growing on me, but it shouldn't have to grow on us. It should have wowed us from the factory, and that's my gripe with BMW right now. I feel like they're settling, and they're not the brand that should be settling. They're the ones that should be like punching us in our mouth as soon as they come out with something. From a performance standpoint, we are absolutely getting that with all of their cars. Like, game changers, all of those motors. But stylistically, I feel like there's an identity crisis there. To me, I think it's because they're trying to appeal to the Chinese market. And when you look at the styling, a lot of it is that. When you look at their selections over there and just in general for their culture, a lot of it is, aggressive and over the top. And it's dope, like it's cool. But think of how the Civic Type R looks and the decisions, the design language that was chosen for that car, and then look at what you see for BMW now.
BMW is just not afraid to really step outside the box. I mean, the same thing was being said when the E90 came out. They're like, what the hell are they doing? There's no inline six. Why would they put a V8? Why would they do that? And I just think that, in the long term, this will pay out for BMW. Not initially, but I think long term, thinking down the road, I think this is, the step that they had to make. Not only because of the styling, but now the xDrive, the potential, I think the wagon that's going to come out that I'm excited because, I'm a dad, so I want the wagon. Fit all the shit in the back, So I think that now they're making those strides to get more of the market share, whether it be from Audi or be from the Benz, to get them over to a BMW M. I know that there's been a lot of people like within the forums that are now trying to get their order in for the xDrive. And it's actually more popular than the rear-wheel drive option now. People really want it.
I think that makes sense because you have the best of both worlds, right? Like, if I'm not mistaken, you can turn it off and you can decide if you want it to be strictly rear wheel.
And you know what? I am not mad about it. I mean, all the technology that they're coming up with, these engines having more output, it's insane. So this is why I got this car.
Oh, yum. Listen, the DCT, the ZF, do great jobs. I love the ZF that is in the Supra, but it's something about banging through gears in the F30 that,
I actually have never driven an SMG in my life, ever. So if anyone's willing, let me drive your SMG. That actually brings up a question. If you were to get a new M3, if you said, you know what, I'm gonna go get this 2022, stick or auto?
it would honestly have to be a coin toss, but I think I'm still leaning towards a stick shift. It feels so good banging through tapping through 8 gears. Oh.
If I had to choose, I actually have thought about this, and I probably would get the auto just because with the newer cars, the comfort of the car and the output of that torque, that down low torque, I feel like it's just delivered better with that ZF.
Yeah. I think as long as they stay the same size, I would do a stick. if they keep getting bigger and bigger, which they're going to because of the safety regulations, at the point it becomes the size of an M5, I don't want to drive something around that big as a stick.
Yeah. Electric is the future. How do you feel about that?
I love it as long as you can make me forget that I'm in an electric car. I need those acoustics. I've seen it in Tesla has mods where it could very much sound like it has a motor and like it's going through, you know, it's revving throughout. I just need two things. One, it needs to sound like we have multiple gears in that thing, even though there's only one. It needs to feel like that for me, and it needs to sound like it. If I have those, I am good. I am A-okay with the car not combusting.
So what do you think is going to happen with these cars once they're pretty much just outlawed? Like, you can't buy petrol cars anymore and it's just all electric. Like, what do you think that's going to do to not only the value of our cars, but just the driving experience for others?
I think it's going to be an enthusiast hobby, a purist hobby. It's going to be one of those things where it's hard to come by. Gas is going to be really expensive. So the same fashion that you may take your car out to a track day and, you know, spend X amount of dollars on that, and you don't do that all the time, just here and there. I think eventually it'll become that with these gasoline powered cars.
Jose and I can go on for hours about things with wheels, cars, BMWs, M3s, but for now, let's just pay attention to this one. Walk through in an SMS. I feel like I handle that well. I feel that you want it back. I still give you half of that, yeah. Baby, you gon' drown when nobody round. Round here, they don't make those rounds. Round here, they don't bring those lemons. Round here, they don't check those grounds. I will die for. You are the one I'm alive for. Your gravity, I will size up for. Your gravity, I will size up for. Bodies on the floor, looking forward to the end.